Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD. It is game day, so I'm starting with the horn. It is December 12th. Today is a special Thursday show because we have a special Thursday game. San Francisco 49ers are taking on the Lambs by way of Los Angeles. So we are excited to talk about the game today, talk about some of the stuff going on. Johnny, I want to ask you real quick about your take on what the nation's take is on things like both AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel are coming up in a lot of these sports talk shows. I was just honestly listening to Dan Patrick. They played Kyle Shanahan's little take on his show. I was driving and I just heard on the radio just this morning. And the take is like, Deebo's gonna be a prima donna, just like AJ Brown, just like Deontay Johnson, and we have a weird view of it because we're inside of it and we see Deebo's tweets more than what the average fan sees because we're glued in. I'm taking it more as a nothing burger, but I don't think the whole country is. What's your take on that? Let's get into that first.
Yeah, I think look, drama or any whiff of drama, people love drama in the NFL. I mean, the games are dramatic and the personalities can be even more dramatic. And I've seen too many times over the decades of things like this happening and there being something really made of it. And it turns out it wasn't really much of anything. But we have also seen times where there really was something there. I think we know that very well between Jeff Garcia and Terrell Owens in San Francisco that led to Terrell being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then there was drama there between him and Donovan McNabb. And he was traded to the Cowboys to where he found a quarterback that he really, really loved in Tony Romo, because Tony would just feed him the ball constantly.
Oh, Jim! That's my Tony Romo. What do you got? What do you think?
Okay. No. There was not nearly enough bass in that. That was very screechy sounding. But it was a good attempt. We'll give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Would not recommend as we go forward.
I didn't do it that bad.
I gotta give you a hard time. Time. Look, when I think Deebo, one thing we know about Deebo is he is a very emotional guy. That's been very apparent when you see him sobbing on the sidelines after the loss to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. Seeing him sobbing on the sidelines after the loss in the Super Bowls. He's a very emotional guy. After the Bills game, I think it was, or was the Packers game, he refused to speak to the media. Didn't want to have anything to say to the media. He's a very emotional guy. And then you add that to somebody who, for the last month and a half, we know he's on social media. We know he's on Twitter and X and everything, and fans everywhere. That this narrative began somewhere in there that Debo had lost his explosiveness. I have not seen that on film. I haven't seen anything that says he's not as explosive when he gets the ball. The plays haven't been there. He's been swallowed up a little bit sooner, but I'm not seeing anything that he's really slow and lost his burst. I mean, we've seen that on the kickoff returns, right? He had two massive
Man.
kickoff returns.
Yeah.
And that showed he does still have that burst, and he still has that. And so you have this thing just where that starts, and then it's Debo's washed, and Debo's washed, and Debo's washed, and the guy's still on pace for like 900 yards this year. And you go, well, if that's a washed year, that's not really washed. And but that's been going around everywhere. And so when you have an emotional guy that starts popping up everywhere, he's going to say, look, I'm not getting as many touches, I'm not getting as many opportunities, not getting the ball in space as much. And people take that as he's defending himself against the fans, and people take that he's defending himself against his teammates. And that's when he said, he's like, I put that out there, and people say I'm automatically bashing my teammates. Like, what? No, that's not what this is about. And is there frustration there? Sure, I'm sure there's frustration, especially the whole team is frustrated. You're 6-7, and you should be 10-4 right now at worst. So or 10-3, and so you are, there's a lot of frustration on the team that it builds. Is it anything that is going to be this huge drama fest that I think leads to horrible things? No, I don't see that at all.
So next question is, and I agree. It's more kind of a nothing burger, I think. But next question is, my fantasy football team needs to know, because I haven't seen the latest. Am I starting Garendo? What's happening?
Garendo's good to go. The 49ers put that out this morning,
Okay.
They haven't officially put it out, but it's out there being reported that he's going to play tonight. So we would not see that basically first thing this morning without them having known something last night. So yeah, he's
Okay,
he's
so
going to
I'm
play
putting him
there and there.
I'm putting him in my flex against instead of Chuba Hubbard then. All right, done deal. So I will complain to you if that goes bad.
Chuba Hubbard just really sounds like it should be the name of a restaurant. I don't know
Or
why.
bubble gum.
It's sort of.
Kinda.
I don't know.
Chuba
It
Hubbard.
feels like a barbecue joint. Chuba Hubbard.
That's
Just saying.
Well, for where he plays too, they probably have some decent. There's not much to do. They can't watch football there in Carolina. They barely have a team, so they probably just eat good food. All right, that's another show.
Though the Carolinas, may not be South Carolina, but North Carolina just landed Bill Belichick as
How about
their
that? Now
head
that's a
coach.
ploy. Johnny, you have children, so you know what it's like to try and do something with the sole purpose of helping your kid. And that is what this is, right? We already know that. There's that clause he's trying to get in there that his son will be the coach.
No, he
His
got in there.
father,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
his father used to be there. I mean, it's just like a family thing. There's no other tie. I mean, that Clemson at Carolina game next year will be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean,
Bill
I guess
Belichick,
he felt that it wasn't enough to be dating a college student. He needed to be coaching
oh, there's
college
so many
students too.
memes.
So
There's so many memes. And speaking of that,
yeah.
be sure to follow Sports Idiot Nation, because we are all over that. New shows are Monday and Thursday. Our Thursday show dropped this morning about the old time NBA. So if you're a fan of basketball and you remember the old good days, you'll really like this episode that's out today.
What do we refer to as the old good days? Because that changes for each generation.
So I'm gonna say before LeBron actually was in the league. So Kobe, Jordan, Magic, Bird,
So like 85 to 2000.
yeah, I'd say that's when the NBA was watchable. A heartbreaking loss for the Warriors. I was excited to see them play in Vegas for this NBA Cup thing, and they Steve Kerr'd the game away. He has become a verb. They Kerr'd that game. Like his lineups, again, that's another show, but I'm just still frustrated.
Really shrewded it.
Yeah, we Kerr'd it. So I love Steve Kerr. How could you not? But man, he's just making some weird decisions with his lineups. But Anyway, that's a different show. I'm sure the faithful agree with me on that. Faithful to the Bay. So, okay, matchups with the Los Angeles Lambs.
Yep.
They are freaking scary with Cup and, I mean, Puka, man. I can't say enough nice things about him, and it breaks my heart to do that. But good lord, what I mean, let's talk defensively first. Is there something that from their passing attack? Is there something that you would like us to key on? Is there something, because I'm at a loss, and this is why I'm a fan of the channel. This is why we're friends. I just want to hear from you.
Well, okay, so you look at the 49ers and Rams, um, and yes, they do have a very high-powered passing attack. Now, that being said, there will be moments, there'll be times, there'll be stretches where they look really, really explosive, really, really on it. And then there's moments they're going to go through dry spells. Having a really good yardage performance of passing does not always equal to points scored. And we have to remember that to begin with. The 49ers, when you look at point differential, are much better in point differential than the Rams are. And the Rams are 7-6, and we're 6-7. The Rams have a minus 34 point differential. So they are underwater. They have allowed 34 more points than they have scored this year, but yet they're 7-6. So when they've lost by a good margin. When they've won, it's been barely winning. And so we, on the other hand, are 0. So we are dead even. We've allowed exactly as many points as we have scored, and we're 6-7.
Last game helped.
When you look at the average margin of victory, so that is when you win games, how much do you win by? Again, the Rams are at 5.6. That is 28th in the league. So they are winning by the smallest margin in the league when they win. One of the smallest margins. I won't say the smallest. The 49ers, on the other hand, we're at 12.7. So when we win, we have won convincingly in most of our games. So, and on the average, that is where it's been feast or famine with the 49ers. Either we're winning or by a good margin, or we're losing and just kind of giving things away. Their passing offense, when they protect Matt Stafford in a clean pocket is as dangerous as any quarterback in the league, maybe even
Yes.
more so. I don't know if there is another quarterback that, when the pocket is perfectly clean, is more dangerous than Matthew Stafford. He's I mean, a very, very good quarterback and knows where to go with the ball. And they got some amazing receivers that can get open if they're given time. So when you look at their passing offense, when it's one play action, they are the best play action offense in the league. Number one. They're number one in play action passing, which is surprising because their rushing offense is not good, but it's good enough to where they can use it in play action, and they are the best team in play action because those guys, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, are so good in that intermediate area and
Yeah.
finding the voids and really taking advantage of you there. So they are the number one play action passing team. And then when you also look at them from passing when there's no pressure, so Stafford is not pressured, number 4 in the league. So play action passing and when you don't get pressure on him are the two things you can't allow those situations to dominate the game. So that means strong run defense on first down. That means having a good rush plan on third down. That's how you win this game. It will be won on first and third down, and being able to do those things because that's what they're really, really good at. And so, you aren't going to win this game when by not pressuring Stafford and by blitzing Stafford. That's not how we're going to win this game. 4 have got to get there, and it's got to be on third down, and you've got to stop them for very, very little gain or negative gain on first down. If you look at them passing versus pressure, so when Stafford has been pressured, they're number 26 in the league. So, they go from number 4 to number 26 when there's pressure versus no pressure. So that's very, very different. So again, number 1 in play action passing, number 4 in passing against no pressure, but number 26 against passing with pressure. That is how you get them, and you have to do it with a 4-man rush because passing against the blitz, they're number 6, and we are number 20, and we are 29th in the league in that. So you got to get there with 4. It's got to be on third down, and rally and make tackles.
So then I hear that as, okay, we need to bring pressure, but wait, hold on. No, we can't bring extra. We need to just manufacture it. Now, will you say that these 4, no Bosa, these 4 have been actually
Bosa's listed as doubtful. He has not been ruled out.
okay? Man,
Or
I
actually, I
don't.
think he was listed as questionable, so it wasn't even doubtful.
I
I'm gonna check that.
just know he's not 100%. I don't know if I technically me just as a selfish fan if I want him out there. But okay, if
Yeah, but
let's
what's the
just
point in keeping him? He is questionable right now, so he's not doubtful. So he's questionable right now.
well
Still
re-aggravation.
with
That's
that,
your answer.
he was a limited participant yesterday. Right, but I'm sitting there like, okay, re-aggravation. You lose this game. What are you saving him for?
Well, not necessarily saving. I mean, like he's not a robot. He is a human, and I don't want him to re-aggravate where it just takes a toll on someone that's that explosive.
I don't. Well, we're not looking at like serious long term injury here. This is oblique strains, sort of a thing. Like, if you look at like, I'm just like, what's the point of saying, well, sit this one out. We'll get through it. Whatever happens, you come back next week and we'll go on a tear. No, you can't afford to lose this game. This is you win or your season's over situation. Like it's
Yeah,
been that way for a while, and so.
right.
Uh,
And we didn't have him
like
last week. I mean,
yeah, but we were also playing the Bears. The Bears are not the same thing. The Bears with Caleb Williams, he's on pace to be one of the most sacked quarterbacks in NFL history. He
yeah,
could break the record, like Derek
right.
Carr's record, right? So like, or not Derek Carr, David Carr's record. That so like you didn't need him there versus the Bears, and if he's not 100%, if you're the 49ers and you're saying, okay, we're facing a team that when they're not pressured, they're one of the best passing attacks in the league. But when they're pressured, they're one of the worst, and that's how we're going to slow them down. Again, the Bills didn't get hardly any pressure on Matthew Stafford last week, and they rolled 44 on the Bills. So, what are you saving Bosa for here? Like, what? So he gets an extra 3 weeks to heal going into the offseason before 7 months of rest? Like, I don't fully understand that. Like, you've got to win this game. Like this is not an opportunity or not a if, ands, or buts. So you go do it. Like
All
you
hands
got to
on
get
deck.
out there.
According to
Lisa
Lisa,
is speaking it into the universe.
yep. Thank you, Lisa, for the super chat.
She says
Okay,
Bosa is playing.
then okay, let's shift to Greenlaw.
Greenlaw's playing. I mean, the 49ers put out on their social media this morning a picture of Greenlaw. You don't do that if the guy's not playing. So, and that's why I also had it on the thumbnail for today's episode is Dre Greenlaw emerging from the smoke, coming out ready to face the night. And so, Dre Greenlaw can't bring you anything but better. Look, Devondre Campbell, I have not been as low on Devondre Campbell the last 6 weeks as everybody else has been. I think there's this kind of
He's shown improvement.
perception. Well, and there's this perception he was not good the first month of the year,
Right.
or
We
6
talked
weeks
about
of the
it.
year.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
But
There was a
he
liability there.
improved.
He
He's making
has
plays.
he has been one of the better players throughout the last 6 weeks on defense. And people have been like, oh, Devondre Campbell was one of the highest PFF rated players from this last game. that seems really wild, and for a lot of reasons. I'm like, it actually doesn't. He's been playing better, but what he doesn't have that he's not going to improve Dre Greenlaw's speed. Dre Greenlaw's closing speed is just different. It's like Fred Warner. It's just different. And that and the ability then to cover some guys in the flats and things like that has just been missing. And so, those 4 5 yard gains become 1 yard gains. So, and Lisa's speaking that into existence. Greenlaw is playing the return of Dre Greenlaw. Yeah. And again, if you're the 49ers social media, unless you have gotten unless you really just went off the reservation and decided to do your own thing, you are they got confirmation from the training staff, from Dre Greenlaw himself, from the coaching staff somewhere that Dre is playing tonight. Like, they would not have put that out on social media if Dre was not playing. So yeah, and that also came out. I think it was last night or early this morning. They dropped that, and so yeah, Dre Greenlaw's playing.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see 5-7 out there. Newbie brings up a couple points that I want to put on hold because we're talking defense, but newbies, we are gonna talk about Ricky Pearsall, but I want to stay on the defense for right now, and I want to remind you guys to bring your phone to someone that is a Niner fan and show them the channel. Make sure they like and subscribe. Make sure you have hit the notification bell, especially on a day like today where it's not a normal time that we're going live. So, thank you, those that are here and that are boosting the algorithm. If you have not yet, remember it is hashtag JD49. We are talking about our defense right now against the Lambs of Los Angeles. And so we talk about bringing pressure, but doing it with just the 4-man front. Uh, what have you seen from the 4 down linemen in the last month that maybe gives you hope? And this is maybe with a Bosa returning then as well against the Rams offensive line and the way that they scheme their offensive line.
Um, well, one, I think it was after the Rams game, I put out on X, like, teams are just going to continue running duo at us until we prove we can stop it. And the Rams started that. And when you look at a lot of the worst rush performances that our defense has had, it's teams that stick with that. I mean, the Rams literally came out and ran. The Bills did exactly what the Rams did, and that's come out in a condensed formation, run duo off the right side, like, over and over. A lot of teams are running that at Malik Collins, and the big reason why is, one, we're slanting him a lot, and so when you slant and he's getting a double team, he will just get ejected out of the hole because he's slanting. So he's already going one way, and they just push him right on the track he's going. That's a defensive play call. Like, that's not him deciding he's going to slant. There's some sort of exchange there. Or two, they end up doubling on him on that duo, and he will slip one of the blockers and let that guy go get Fred Warner. And it's happening far too often. He was just literally running at Malik Collins over and over and over again on these duo runs. And the Rams were the ones who really started that. And we didn't anchor well. And so that's got to be the number one priority. When you look at the Rams, their overall rushing, like I said, it's good enough. It's not great. They're number 20. They're the 22nd best rushing attack in overall efficiency. Now, we are the number 25th rushing defense in overall efficiency. That's not a good matchup for us. But that's the thing that they don't do as well. Whereas when you look at overall passing, that's where we match up against them. So their strength is our strength on defense. Their weakness is our weakness on defense. It comes down to who's going to patch their weakness the best. Do we hold up against a run, or are they able to run against us? Now, the one positive side of that is that the Rams are not good at running when teams aren't going a stack box. Like, against a light box, they're one of the worst in the league against a light box. They're 31st. So that means that you can keep two safeties back, and they aren't as good at running that. I know some of that is that a product of the defensive scheme, or is that a product of what defenses teams are running when the Rams do certain things. And so they're not as good at running when they do certain things. Like, for example, if they go shotgun with 3 wide receivers and they try and run it in the middle, are they not as good at that? Or do they try and run it on the edge? And they're just not as good at that. And teams are going to safeties. Or is this like, but if they don't do that, they come out with 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends like they did against us, and teams are keeping 2 safeties back. They're going to run on you. So it's something where that may speak more to how they are running out of certain personnel looks and on certain down and distances than necessarily like that means you just come out with 2 safeties and they're not gonna be able to run on you. It doesn't quite work that way. It just more means that that's something that's interesting to watch. I think the 49ers have got to establish that line of scrimmage, and Bosa is a huge help for that. Being able to condense the edge does make some of those duos harder. So without Bosa there, that's tough sledding. Now, the return of Yetur Gross-Matos, who I think has been better against the run. I think he's better against the run than Leonard Floyd will be a big boost versus what we had against them early in the year. The kind of emergence of as a very reliable rotational piece in Sam Oak, I think is different than we had earlier in the year. So those things are where you stop that, you get after Stafford, and then you're doing well.
So I want to ask. It was a great question by Quiffleball, and I was curious when we talk about different schemes. Again, this channel is about the whys and hows, and so questions like this I think about as well. But Quiffleball asks, why does duo work better on us than inside zone?
I muted my mic for a second. So duo and inside zone are very similar. One emphasizes horizontal movement where the other one emphasizes vertical movement. The idea with duo is you're running an inside zone, but with the kind of combo blocks that you see in Power Man. So Power Man usually have a double combo meant to drive the defensive tackle back and then peel off and get to the second level. Inside zone is more about, can you hook a guy on some reach blocks, on inside reach blocks, and create a lane for the running back to choose and create this horizontal movement. So when you play against duo, you have to anchor like it's a Power Man run, but your linebackers have to read it and play it like it's a zone. So there's going to be different lanes there, and it's really in that your defensive tackles have to anchor really well. I remember back to the Panthers defense back in the early 2010s. I remember watching their film and was so impressed as when they had Luke Kuechly. They were probably the best 4-man front defense against duo in the league. I watched their defense and I was so impressed to this day from their defensive tackles, because we ran duo at them a bunch in the Harbaugh era, and I remember them just soaking up those double teams. Like, those defensive tackles would just grab an anchor and take on those double teams, and Kuechly was just free to run.
Clean it up. He would just clean it up.
He tackled everything because he was never taking on an offensive lineman. Never. Yeah. Like, those guys in front of him kept him so clean. That hasn't been happening here, and like, it's something that I've been trying to put my thumb on, because when you hear Fred Warner or Nick Sorensen talk about Maliek Collins, they're like, yeah, Malik's been doing great, man. Malik's he's playing really well at a really high level, and I'm watching every game and I'm going, he's letting a lineman on Fred Warner every single play, like every time they do almost, and so I haven't been able to, like, make those two things match. Is it just them, kind of team speak and not wanting to throw a player under the bus, or give a team, the opponent, kind of a freebie and say, hey, this is what we're struggling against. Just run that.
Yeah, you're not going to do that either.
So, you don't do those things. But on the other side, I'm like, the way that we've been defending that, it's why we're giving up some of these chunk runs. So And what was interesting watching the Bears offense, the Bears ran more inside zone than duo, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you guys, this is maybe why your head coach got fired and your offensive coordinators got fired, because it was kind of there that you run duo, and the 49ers struggle against that. But I expect the Rams to come out with a heavy dose of it. So that has got to be in the game plan this week of, we have got to stop this. If we don't stop this, our season is over.
It's bad
So
news.
yeah.
Okay, so are you ready to shift to the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay,
Let's do
so
this.
the first thing I want to ask, I'm sure newbie's been waiting, and I really am curious. The other thing in the pressers was a little bit, we talked about Debo earlier, but Ricky Pearsall, and just we talked about it on Monday's show, on our Victory Monday show. Felt really good to have that one. Just the thing with Ricky Pearsall and Brock saying the right things. I know he's explosive. I want to get him the ball. And yeah, it just hasn't happened, whatever. Is there something that we can do, screens, or where it's guaranteed a play called for him? Or is it not worth it to force feed it? Or what do you see happening in tonight's game with Ricky Pearsall?
I think the 49ers offense is going to roll as the 49ers offense. So we have this sort of conversation about some receiver at some point continuously in this 49ers offense. Like, early in the year, George Kittle's not
Yeah,
getting the
I was
ball
gonna
enough.
say
Brandon
Kittle, and
Ayuk
now he's blowing
isn't
up.
getting the ball enough. And then Kittle is getting the ball all the time. Brandon Ayuk obviously not in playing this season anymore, but when against the trying to remember who it was that we played, and there's the Patriots, he went up for like 150 yards, right? Like, it was like he barely had any catches, and then all of a sudden goes off in a game for 150 yards. This 49ers offense isn't based around, I'm just going to get this guy X amount of touches, unless it's Christian McCaffrey. Like, Christian McCaffrey is the only guy
X
that really
factor.
has we're going to get X amount of touches too. Um, it's really based around, we're gonna see, one, how are they playing certain guys? So if a team is doubling Brandon Ayuk, we're gonna use that, and everybody else is gonna have opportunities, and they've got to step up. I'm not saying that Ricky Pearsall is getting doubled. It's more, are teams taking away the intermediate? Are they taking away the deep? Are they taking away the short? Like, what is teams' game plans coming in? And whatever it is, then we tend to produce where they are giving you space. That is what good offenses do. And that it's not built around that we're just gonna get this guy the ball because we think this guy is good with the ball. You do that to a point, but only when it gives you a schematic advantage. You don't just throw a screen to Debo just to
Just
throw a screen to Debo.
yeah, to get him
You throw a
involved.
screen to Debo because you think,
The
they've been
tendencies.
rolling this safety just in this angle
Yeah.
over here, and that's what we have. And in that, if we can get these blocks, then we have a chance that Debo can hit the seam, and it's an explosive for maybe a touchdown. I think, so everybody has dry spells in this offense. It's the way it is. We're not an offense that's built around one guy. It's an offense that is and Brock is not a quarterback that's just like, I'm gonna force feed one guy. That and that leads to some frustration, that leads to dry spells. Everybody in this offense goes through that. Juwan Jennings has gone through that at times,
Yeah.
even this season. Then he'll have a game where he goes off for 150 yards. It's just, it is what it is, and I don't put any really big stock into it or not. Like, especially when you come off a game like Chicago, team scored 38 points and had like 350 yards of offense by halftime, and people are like, Pearsall's not getting the ball, and you wanted
Well,
more? Like,
he's not
you
getting the
want
ball. I don't know what to
more?
tell you.
You
Yeah.
want more? Like, that they were one of the best the first half offenses that anybody has had this season. And then they came out in the second half and still scored 14 points. Like,
Right.
and before they sat down Brock Purdy. I'm just like, you want more? I don't understand the issue there. And he's growing. He's still growing. Brock's still got to trust that he's going to be exactly where he's supposed to be. There's some of that, but overall, I think, those opportunities will come at some point. It's going to happen. Um, just like it happens with everybody else in this offense. And when your opportunities arise, you got to make the most of those opportunities. Like Ronnie Bell versus was it the Cardinals game or was it the Rams game? Where I think it was the Rams game. He had a chance to catch
It
it
was
down
the
the
Rams.
sideline
It was the Rams.
and end the game. And he didn't take advantage. So your opportunities will come. You got to make them when you get them.
Right. You never know when it's going to come. Stay faithful. Glass City says Ricky also didn't have an off season. He's literally having his learning phase during the regular season on national television. And Lisa, again, thank you for the super chat. She says, I don't understand why, after all these years, people are still asking these questions like clockwork every year. El stupido. But then
I mean,
we
I
watch
mean,
football. It's
well,
always gonna
and I get why the question does happen. Okay, you have a first round pick, and the numbers
right,
aren't there. Okay,
right.
so you're going, why did we spend a first round pick on this kid? Like you spend a first round pick on somebody who's going to be an immediate impact, but just because they're not getting the numbers on there, just like we've seen with Brandon Ayuk, just like you've seen with Deebo Samuel, I've seen it on film. Teams are still keeping a lot of eyes on Deebo Samuel. It doesn't mean that because his numbers are down that he's not affecting what's happening on the field. And same thing with Ricky Pearsall. He can be running some clearing routes and teams are taking those. So that's it's there. I get why, it just becomes like it feels like a wasted pick when you're in a 6-7 season. You're thinking, okay, if we just needed somebody who's going to be out there not catching passes, we could have, gotten this guy or drafted here, and that would have been really helpful. I'm not worried about Pearsall, especially at this moment. His opportunities will come.
So, what are some of the factors as we're talking the offensive side of the ball? And you talked about it's kind of about scheme. If the safeties are rolling over, then that's when you throw a screen, this and that. Okay. But now let's hyper focus on the Rams defense. Are there things that you see that makes you say, okay, well, because of that, I hope we run to the right on the outside this game? Or, and I'm just making something up, but is there something that you see based on what the Rams do, what you're hoping for on the offensive side of the ball?
Uh, just run the ball. I mean, offensive production was not an issue the last time we met with them. The biggest problem was red
That's
zone.
fair.
And now that is where the Rams
We've gotten
are
better.
the Rams are number 4 in red zone rushing on defense.
Mm,
So, that was a big
that's
element.
not
So
so
they're
fun.
they're very much a bend but don't break defense. So you're gonna have opportunities to move the ball. This is very much it is a very, very Nick Saban, Kirby Smart defense. The way that they run everything is very, very similar that way. There's a lot of too high defense in this, a lot of quarters. They're very much based in that. A lot of different checks in those quarters to cover 6 or palms coverage. There's a lot of that in here. There's a lot of matching. There's a lot of man coverage on the outside in these quarters. So you're gonna have opportunities to run the ball between the 20s. They're gonna be there. You got to get them. They are not a good defense in a lot of metrics. If you look at when teams run on them versus the light box, which is what they're in most of the time, they're number 28. Against rushing under center, they're number 23. Designed runs, they're number 27. When they stack the box, they're not any better. They're number 28. Overall rushing efficiency, number 27. Rushing outside the tackles, 29. Rushing out of shotgun, 21. QB scrambles, 21. The only places that they're better is rushing inside the tackles, they're number 16, and rushing in the red zone at number 4. And that's where we have our biggest weakness. We're pretty good everywhere else, but rushing in the red zone. Rushing in the red zone, we are 16th in the league. We're middle of the pack. I've been saying this for the whole year. Like our rushing efficiency and our rushing production in the red zone has not been good this year. So that's where I'm looking at their defense and I'm saying, okay, that's where we have got to get them. You got to take advantage of that. Their defensive line is not good on the edges. Their safeties aren't great in run support. Their corners aren't great in run support. So you got to go after them. You got to be able to get on those edges, and that means guys have got to get with urgency to their blocks. When you look at their defense, in a lot of ways, they're not a great passing defense either. Like this is not a good defense. They have done enough. What they've done better than some teams, and what's kind of, again, why they have a winning record with their defense is that they do two things really well. They get after the quarterback when it's time to get after the quarterback. They get a lot of pressure, and then that forces turnovers. So you can't allow, those are the two things that you can allow in this. And they're pretty good at defending intermediate passing. So when you look at them, see, it's deep passing, they're number 30th against deep passes. Play action passes, they're number 29th. Passing when there's no pressure on the quarterback, they're 32nd in the league. Overall passing efficiency, 29th. Quick passing, they're 29th. Long passing, 23rd. So that means longer developing throws, not necessarily deep throws. When it's passing, when they don't blitz, they're 26th. When it's short passing, they're 27th. The only thing they're good at is intermediate passing, and that's because they play a lot of that quarters defense. And that's one thing that quarters that they do is better against, is it really takes away the intermediate passing over the middle of the field, which is, kind of our bread and butter. But we can function in ways outside of that. So, this is a game that is setting up that the 49ers should be able to move the ball on them almost at will. I don't think that's not something I'm sitting here fretting about going, are we going to be able to move the ball on these guys? I think since McVay's been there, Shanahan's offense has been able to move the ball like
we've never
crazy
really
against them.
struggled. Yeah.
Never struggled against it. We have sometimes struggled scoring points on them, which is, that's in the end, that's
Right.
That's what it really is about. Like, you can have 800 yards of offense, and if you score 12 points, people are going to go big whoop. You get a participation trophy. Because yards doesn't determine whether you win games or not. So that's what I see on offense. It's going to come down to, can you run the ball in the red zone? Can Brock get like 3 touchdown passes? That's what you need out of him. Really lighten up that run defense in the red zone, and maybe get an explosive for a touchdown in there somewhere. And that's why sometimes you see, like the play to Juwan Jennings when we faced him last time, fake this toss and Brock looks hard to the left and you hit Jennings wide open for a touchdown. That's all set up to go against the way that they play defense, right? You're making that corner respect a run fit who's in man coverage, and then you're moving the safety out and you hit him. So, there's those kind of plays that they've got to hit. But yeah, it's one that we should match up well against.
So, yeah, I think the factor is more of the game is more on the defensive side of the ball, assuming that we can score points, as that's kind of been our Achilles heel. It's not moving the ball on offense, but I think with they kind of feel like they're humming. That video went in, I guess for us in Ninersville, it went viral. Maybe not over the whole country, it went viral, but Stafford, in the locker room, let's go F and beat the Niners. That's kind of like a rally cry now for us. Like, we've taken that and like it's motivated us. But you do have to admit they are kind of humming. At least they would tell you that, like, hey man, we're humming, here we come. Like, so the confidence is there. They're getting healthy. Remember the last time we played them was so disheartening, because yes, we were hurt, but we weren't as hurt as they were at that
Right.
time. At the time. Now, it's a little bit different with Greenlaw and Bosa coming back, and we got the club in Huff. We got some guys back, so that's always exciting. But I just think that our defense versus their offense is going to be really, really crucial. And that's what just has me nervous, because Puka has career games versus us, let alone what he's done the last couple of games. Like, good Lord, is he going to catch 30 on us? If he's catching 12, 13, 14 passes, not against us, and he always has good games against us, I'm just like, oh man, I'm getting a headache already. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what makes me nervous. So I don't know. Are we doing an actual prediction? Are we in a good headspace to do that? Or are we just
I don't
so
know
are we
anymore.
saying
I
I
don't know
know,
about the
right?
score predictions anymore because again, this is a game that it could go either way. Like
I know.
because it's going to come down to this game is going to come down to red zone defense. I think both teams are going to move the ball, and it's going to come down to who scores in the red zone and then who doesn't turn the ball over. And because the way these teams have been so bipolar, it's hard to predict exactly how that's going to go. And it, like this is truly a game that I could see it being anywhere from a blowout loss to a blowout win. Like the margin is so wide open here because it's going to come down to that could be determined by 8 plays. And I do expect the Rams to move the ball. When you look at the matchups here, it's there's a lot of advantages for both offenses against those defenses. When you look at the Rams offense, number 6 in the league in quick passing. We are number 18th in defending quick passing. When it's passing versus the blitz, they are number 6 in the league. We are number 29th. Rushing in the red zone, they're number 12th. We are number 31. Passing versus play action, they're number 1. We are number 12. That's giving them a lot of advantages on offense. The only advantage we have on defense is passing versus pressure, and they are 26th, and we're number 8th in the league. So that's why I say it comes down to pressure on Stafford on third down, and pressure in the red zone. And when you look at the other side, our offense versus their defense, deep passing, we're number 4 in the league. They are number 30th in the league. Passing versus play action, we are number 7th in the league. They are number 29th in the league. Passing versus no pressure, we're number 8th in the league. They're number 32nd in the league. Rushing versus a light box, we're number 8th in the league. They are number 28th in the league. So that is very much favored towards our offense versus their defense. Now, again, the one kicker, the wild card in there is pressure rate. The 49ers have the 25th best, worst pressure rate. So 25th worst pressure rate. Brock is pressured at a bottom third of the league. That's not good. Okay. They are number 4 in generating pressure and efficiency. So, that when you have plays like that, when the two big advantages that defenses have over their offenses that they're playing that have advantages across the board have to do with pressure. Those are serious game-changing moments. That's where things can skew the metrics in every single way because pressure, not sacks. And this has been the argument for a long time. Defensive coaches always say, I'm not as much concerned about sacks. I'm more concerned about pressure. Saleh was, almost crucified for this, for saying that he cared more about pressures than sacks because pressures usually led to the big negative plays. Sacks are great, but an interception's better. Sacks are great, but a sack fumble is better. Sacks are great, but sometimes a quarterback trying to scramble and getting sacked or getting tackled for 1 yard on 3rd and 15 is better.
Right.
Like the big game changing, the turnovers happen on plays with pressure. So pressure changes everything. It's what changes coal into a diamonds, and it's what also turned the Terminator into a paperclip. So,
How long
pressure
were you sitting
changes
on that one?
everything.
How long were you
It
waiting on that?
just came into my
Oh,
head. Just
man.
came into my head.
This is
Literally, it
why
was off the top of my head.
the whys and
So,
hows.
yep. So pressure changes everything, and it's why this game could be either a blowout loss or a blowout win, or be coming right down to the wire. So, yeah.
I think the team that scores the most points will come away with the victory. So in my John Madden uh take, that's what I think is going to happen. The team that scores the most will win, and hopefully tomorrow will be a victory Friday. Be sure that you have your notification bell ding clicked so that you know when we go live. We are looking to go live again tomorrow, to talk about our victory Friday. And then what does that do for Monday? Would we not go
We'll
Monday?
see. We'll see what happens through the
See
weekend
kind of
because
how it goes.
it depends on like how the Seahawks do.
Yeah, if they help us out and drop a turd, then that would be very fantastical. So okay, so we are set for for today. There is the chance of rain, so I will also say stay dry, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.